I'm Jeanette Roche. This is Forum Daily West. Here are some of the top stories we've been following. Top economic officials from the G7 meet in Banff to discuss global economy. Plus, Canada Post issues a set of offers to postal workers following strike notice, including a 13% wage hike and weekend delivery. And a University of Lethbridge student selected to compete as Team Canada in the Summer World University Games. Thanks so much for joining us. Top economic officials from the G7 nations locked into a full day of closed-doors discussions today in Banff, Alberta. But before going behind those closed doors, the leaders gathered for an obligatory photo op there. The finance ministers and central bank governors are examining the global economy, the war in Ukraine, and other pressing topics. It comes in the wake of U.S. tariffs, which have caused Canada and many other countries to reconsider their trading relationships. The meeting is a prelude to the G7 Leaders Summit next month in Kananaskis, Alberta. And at that three-day summit, Canadian Finance Minister François-Philippe Champagne and Ukrainian Finance Minister Sergei Marchenko addressed the media. Champagne said it's morally imperative that G7 countries help support the rebuilding of Ukraine.
I think it is very telling to the world that we have our Ukrainian friend with us for the G7 summit. It sends a strong message to the world that we are all of us recommitting to support Ukraine.
We are grateful for the Canadian government, the support for the providing for Ukraine during this very harsh year for Ukraine during the war. Canada provide Ukraine quite significant amount of support. During our meetings, we will find a chance to reiterate our position towards sanctions on Russia, and we would like this sanctions will be stronger because it's only possible way how to impose necessary sanctions on Russia for them to make necessary agreements when we have discussions related to peace.
Canada Post is issuing a new set of offers today, including a 13% wage increase and weekend delivery to the union, which represents more than 55,000 postal workers. Canada Post still wants to add part-time workers to do weekend deliveries, but now says it'll provide health and pension benefits as well as scheduled guaranteed hours. The union, meanwhile, says its negotiating team is set to review the proposals soon, but Canada Post has rejected the union's request to have 2 weeks to look over the Postal Service's offer. A Postal Service spokesperson says further delay in the labor dispute is in no one's interest. The Canada Union of Postal Workers President Jan Simpson says they want to take the time to carefully review the details to ensure they align with the priorities and needs of their members. The announcement comes days after the union issued a strike notice that could see postal workers back on the picket line early Friday. Canada Post has warned of delays in mail deliveries if the union resumes its strike. Western Canada premiers are in Yellowknife for a two-day annual conference. Arctic and energy security, trade, tariffs, and emergency preparedness are among the issues the leaders are discussing today. Saskatchewan Premier Scott Moe also wants to talk about several priorities he's put to Prime Minister Mark Carney to take on, including strengthening the criminal code. The conference comes just weeks before Canada's premiers are to meet in person with Carney. The Office of Alberta's Information and Privacy Commissioner has issued a new warning about a cybersecurity attack that was first reported back in February. 3 months ago, Information and Privacy Commissioner Diane McLeod announced the PowerSchool platform used by schools across the province had been hacked. In some cases, the personal information of educators had been accessed. McLeod now says hackers have attempted to extort people whose information was compromised. She says Albertans need to be vigilant in regards to potential phishing attacks by hackers who may use personal information from the PowerSchool incident. You should avoid clicking on unsolicited links or attachments to emails, avoid scanning unsolicited QR codes, and not respond to unsolicited text messages. And you should be especially vigilant if these links, attachments, QR codes, or messages relate to PowerSchool. A British climber who scaled Mount Everest and broke his own record for the most ascents of the world's highest peak by a non-Sherpa guide returned from the summit. 51-year-old Kenton Kuhl reached the 29,000-foot summit at 11 a.m. local time on Sunday. It's the 19th time he has reached it. After announcing an $8.6 billion plan last fall to build and renovate more than 100 schools, the government of Alberta says 11 schools have moved one step closer to construction. Education and Child Care Minister Dimitrios Nicolaides says of the 33 previously announced projects that are in the works, these 11 are being fast-tracked, creating more than 8,000 new and updated student spaces.
3 projects, are now ready to progress from design to full construction. 7 projects are ready to move forward from planning to design. 1 project is transitioning from pre-planning to planning funding approval. Once completed, these 11 projects will provide 8,000 new and renovated spaces, ensuring more students have access to modern learning environments. Just east of Calgary and Strathmore, funding approval has been granted for the design of the Westmount School Replacement Project. Southern Alberta is also seeing progress with Colehurst High School. Renovation has been approved to move to the design stage. In Central Alberta, a new middle school in Northeast Red Deer is now approved for planning, and the replacement of the Norwood School in Wetaskiwin has now secured design funding.
Nicolaides says the government is also investing $50 million to provide modular classrooms to 19 school boards. He says that funding will provide more than 1,650 new relocated student spaces in some of Alberta's fastest growing communities. A year after a wildfire ripped through Jasper, Alberta, officials from the town of Banff and Parks Canada are working to prepare the town for a similar fire by breaking up the forest and by offering programs to make homes less flammable.
There's always lessons to be learned regardless of every wildfire, whether it has the impacts that a fire like Jasper had or not. So we're always learning. There's lots of reviews happening and lessons learned. This type of work has been ongoing in Banff for, 40 plus years. In every direction around the community of Banff, it's very difficult to go more than 5 or 10 kilometers from the community without running into whether it's a fuel block where we've logged or a prescribed fire that we've implemented. We've tried really hard to break up the landscape so that we don't have these super continuous tracts of untouched forest. And so, if you were to go in the air and fly up these valleys, you would see evidence of prescribed fire or thinning in every direction around the community, and we continue to keep doing that.
And we go from wildfires to wild species. As of June 1st, the Alberta government will require mandatory inspections of all watercrafts entering the province. In a statement, the government says zebra and quagga mussels destroy ecosystems, threaten coastlines, and can cause hundreds of millions of dollars in damage to infrastructure. Megan Evans, executive director at Alberta Invasive Species Council, says it's a huge concern.
So they're spread across North America, their distribution is growing, and they're getting closer to Alberta. We don't have these invasive mussels present in the province yet, and we're trying to keep them out. One of the biggest impacts that they have is that they have the ability to attach themselves to hard surfaces, which results in clogging water intake pipes and a lot of damage and maintenance costs associated with any type of aquatic infrastructure. So what I have right here, this is a pipe that went into an infested water body, and it was clean when it went in, and 18 months later they pulled it out. It was completely coated in these zebra mussels, and they'll keep kind of coating these hard surfaces until it's completely clogged. Ecologically, a single zebra mussel in one day can filter 1 liter of water, taking really important food out of the food chain. So there's all kinds of other native critters that rely on that food, the plankton and algae that these zebra mussels filter out. A single zebra mussel can also lay 1 million eggs in a season. So they have massive reproduction. They're voracious feeders, removing all of that food from the ecosystem. And the result of an invasive mussel infestation is an unrecognizable ecosystem that is, here to stay. It's irreversible.
Mandatory inspections will continue until September 30th, and next year inspections will start 1 month earlier on May the 1st. The Canada Pension Plan Investment Board says it earned a net return of 9.3% for its latest fiscal year. The board says the fund was up over $714 billion in net assets, but the results fell short of the fund's benchmark return of close to 11%. The fund says public equities, especially in the U.S. and China, delivered gains despite geopolitical and trade-related headwinds in its fourth quarter, while investments in private equities, infrastructure, and credit also helped. The strengthening of other currencies against the loonie also boosted results. As you saw on BCN Tuesday, more than a dozen physicians and doctors at the Chinook Regional Hospital in Lethbridge issued a public letter that the emergency department will be subject to increased staff shortages. BCN's Landon Hickok has further updates on this story.
The letter, since being publicly released this week, emphasized that the emergency department of Chinook Regional Hospital has seen at least the absence of 1 doctor every day since early this month, and that there's a real possibility of being 2 doctors short on many days in the coming months, which could mean a 30% reduction in available doctor hours than what is desired. Dr. Sean Wild, who signed on to this letter, says that recruitment will be a long process, especially here in a smaller city like Lethbridge.
We do need to increase, ideally, our recruitment of local doctors. In the long term, having the new medical school campus here in Lethbridge should help. And also this summer, we're starting to train 1 to 2 emergency specialists in our department each year with a new program in conjunction with the University of Calgary. So we're optimistic that long term that will help recruit people. But, in the coming several months to a year or more, we still don't have a great short-term solution for that period.
Alberta Health Services reached out to us at BCN and have provided us with a statement on the issue about the ongoing recruitment process at Chinook Regional Hospital. In sections of the following statement, AHS says that Chinook Regional Hospital currently has 17 emergency medicine physicians and is actively working to recruit 7 more. 2 new physicians were hired in 2024, and 3 additional candidates have recently been interviewed and are in the midst of the recruitment process. Despite these ongoing efforts and locum coverage, the emergency department continues to experience shortages. All patients at Chinook Regional Hospital's emergency department continue to be seen based on the severity of their medical condition. However, those with less acute issues may experience longer than usual wait times, despite the hospital traditionally having some of the shortest wait times in Alberta. Additionally, AHS say that they are exploring all available options to support the emergency department to deliver effective services. For Bridge City News, I'm Landon Hickok.
Lethbridge police have charged 3 people in connection with the assault and confinement of a 21-year-old man. Police say they were notified Sunday, May 18th, that an active robbery and assault was taking place at a home in the 1000 block of 13th Street South. Police arrived on scene and arrested 3 males and 1 female. An investigation revealed the suspects had broken into the victim's home the previous day, confining him, assaulting him, and warning him not to contact police. The group apparently left the residence residence at some point on Saturday and returned the following day to further confront the victim. Police say the victim and suspects knew each other, and this was a targeted attack involving a dispute over property. The three male suspects are aged 42, 18, and 17, and they all face charges of break and enter, extortion, robbery, and unlawful confinement. The female suspect was released and not charged. Lethbridge County is offering funding to help students who are pursuing a post-secondary education. Scholarships and bursaries are offered to residents who are in their first year of post-secondary education or are mature students. Lethbridge County Reeve Tori Campbell says up to 5 students will be awarded scholarships in 2025.
The bursary program is an initiative of council that's been underway for about 6 years now. We've gradually increased the number, so we're up to 3 potential $1,500 bursaries that are available to Lethbridge County residents who are entering into a post-secondary program, and they're based around community involvement, their scholastic achievements, and things like that. And then the second one would be, as I mentioned earlier, through our partnership with Potentia Renewables. Potentia has some alternative energy projects in the county, and in partnering with them, we have the Community Benefit Fund. And then as well, we have the opportunity for 2 scholarships to be awarded, to up to 2 $2,000 scholarships.
The application deadline for the bursary program is June 1st, while the application deadline for the Community Benefit Scholarship is July 31st. A local not-for-profit organization is asking the community to help them raise $100,000 to fight child sex slavery. The group Not for Sale is holding a fundraising gala this Friday, May 23rd in Parallel Church in Lethbridge. Joylyn Stickle, director of Not for Sale, says the funds raised will go towards running rescue homes around the world that help victims of sex trafficking. That is your Forum Daily West report. I'm Jeanette Roche. Thanks so much for watching.